what happens when customer service stops being seen as a cost and actually starts driving revenue. And what does really good AI in a contact centre actually look like? Not that sci-fi pitch deck version that we always see at tech conferences and from vendors selling a solution. I want to learn more about the real things that are improving experiences, increasing upsell, saving sanity of customers and agents alike, and increasing loyalty. Well, today's guest might just have the answers we're looking for. His name's Ryan Peterson, and he is the Chief Product Officer at a company called Concentrix, where he's helping shape the future of customer support through smart, secure AI that actually enhances rather than replaces human talent. And with 430,000 advisors around the world and 7,000 AI agents already working in tandem, Concentrix is leading the way and proving that automation and empathy can both coexist when they're built right. So today, Ryan is not going to sugarcoat things. He's going to share exactly what goes wrong when AI is rolled out too fast or incorrectly, and I suspect we've all got examples of that ourselves. But on the flip side, why clean knowledge bases are more important than cutting-edge models, and how the rise of agentic engineering is actually redefining roles instead of removing them. And also explain why hyper-personalization could be the next big leap in experience design, and why it's time we treat customer support as a value engine, not as an afterthought. And with that scene perfectly set, I think it's time to get Ryan onto the podcast now. So thank you for joining me on the podcast today. Can you tell everyone listening a little about who you are and what you do?
Well, thanks, Neil, and thanks for having me. My name is Ryan Peterson. I'm the Chief Product Officer for a company called Concentrix. We're making technology right now for the really for the business of customer service. So a lot of it's around making our own advisors. We have about 430,000 advisors who take calls for different companies, making them really effective, supporting them with AI capabilities. But also we know that there's a lot of times where you have to kind of replace that workflow with an AI-only solution. So we've been making technology for that as well. So taking all of that AI capability, all of our partners like Microsoft and Amazon and Google and so forth, making their technologies work really effectively for our customers is really what my job is at Concentrix.
And that's one of the reasons I was excited to get you on the podcast today, because there's so much talk at the moment around the transformative qualities of AI on contact centers, on the customer journey, customer experience. But one of the things that really stood out to me, if we just park the AI side of things for a moment, you described this shift that we're seeing at the moment from customer service as a cost center to actually a revenue driver. So what's changed in the technology or the mindset to make this possible?
Well, it's a great question. We've been spending a lot of time testing AI when it comes to having conversations with the customer from our particular client side of things. And so, for example, we have an appliances customer who would call in and ask us questions about how do I solve this appliance issue? It's not working right. It's not doing this thing that I expected it to. And so we'll take that conversation and we'll have the full discussion and make them happy. Now, a happy customer is willing to buy more. And so with AI, we can figure out, are they happy right now? We can look at their sentiment. We can understand where they are. And so we can turn around and, hey, by the way, did you know that there's this other thing that you might be interested in since you really like this other thing that's really working well now? And so we did a test of that, and we were seeing the customer average around $500,000 a month in revenue before we had AI attached to it, of just upsell. Our team takes the call, we do a little bit of upselling, and we had about $500,000 across their entire portfolio. Immediately after using AI to support our advisors to have that same conversation, we saw an uplift to 1.6 million a month. So just being able to attach and understand the customer's feelings, understand their engagement, make sure that they're happy. Obviously, you don't want to go trying to sell somebody when they're unhappy, but just knowing when to do the right things and having AI support our advisor to telling the right story, increase that customer to $10+ million a year in additional revenue that came out of having a human supported by AI. So I think there's a huge opportunity for customers tend to think of it as, let me just cut my costs out of my contact center. They don't think, how can I make money by supporting my customers with more. The second thing I'll give you on the same storyline is churn is often overlooked as the most important number that customers need to think about. So our customers, our clients will come to us and they'll say, I just want to cut our costs. I don't want to reduce reduce the headcount that you have, see if I can make this a little bit cheaper. And some of them are thinking that way, just keep on cutting more cost out. But what they miss in that is their churn metrics increase as a result. And this is the question I always ask people. If you call into a client and you get that IVR that picks up, right? It says, thank you for calling. Please press 1 for this, or tell me why you're calling, or those kinds of things. I'm going to ask you a question. I bet you all your listeners will have the same answer. Have you ever said hit 0 or say agent, advisor, bypass, give me someone?
Of course, happens, all right? The time, yeah.
All the time. And I think it's because clients have gotten more sophisticated. Your customers be more sophisticated. They're calling in, they're asking a hard question. They couldn't find the answer on a website, and they definitely aren't going to find the answer by talking to some AI. And so the question is, when do you bring it to a human? When should it go to AI? When should you use your website to respond to the customer? And what customer profile should that be? Do you want to take your expensive, high lifetime value clients and say, oh, you're going to talk to AI now? Or do you give them a more personal touch? And so that range of your long tail that maybe you can give some more AI to your important long-term customers, you need to make sure have a better touch. It directly relates to how much profitability you have when your churn rate is lower. And so those are the things I think we have to let people know is you can upsell and create value. You can reduce churn and increase your total revenue. And those two things, I think people think, let me acquire new customers, and they forget that you have to take care of the ones you've already acquired. And so we try to help them think through, how do you make sure you keep those customers and you don't let them churn?
And in our day jobs, I suspect we're both incredibly passionate about AI. We know all the benefits, the transformative qualities. But as you highlighted a moment ago, we also both feel that frustration of somebody that's maybe implemented things in the wrong way as cost cutting. So you get an email from a do not reply email address. You're chatting to an AI chatbot that just doesn't understand your query. You find yourself screaming, I just want to speak with someone and try those shortcuts you mentioned. And even if it's implemented rightly, I think like 60% of customer questions now can be answered through generative AI. And if done right, it's a great thing. But how do you ensure those interactions still feel personal and not transactional?
Well, it's a great question. So the right kinds of AI are going to take human empathy into account. You're going to think about how you're having a conversation. And you need to test, and test. And there has to be good data behind. That's, by the way, the number one reason why AI fails is the data is not ready.
Yeah.
And so if you can't answer the question, which a lot of AI can answer all the easy questions, all the basic questions, but I like to tell people AI is like a college graduate. Nowadays, some of the new ones are like PhDs. It can answer any question that's in the public domain. But you know what's not in the public domain is a company's information.
Yeah.
It's specifically behind the firewall. It's the data that's sitting behind that's why you're calling them, to ask them, hey, can you help me fix this problem? Can you solve this issue for me? You're not going to, ask a chat GPT or a Claude or one of these LLMs a question about, hey, airline, can you tell me how, about my seat? Or can you fix my meal choice? Those are things you're going to ultimately interface either through an application or talk to the customer service agent and get support from. And so what we found is that you're always trying to get the right information to the customer, but there's not a lot of data interfacing between them. So I myself have now churned for an airline. I won't name it for obvious purposes, but I'll tell you, they decided they were going to go all in on AI. And so I called, I was a million miler with them and flown all over the world. And it ends up that if you don't fly that particular airline for 3 or 4 years, they delete your account. I didn't know this at the time. And so I couldn't log in. I was trying to fly. I moved recently to Tennessee. And so I was starting to fly out of a different airport. And I said, I'm going to start flying with this airline again. And I couldn't figure out how to log in and get my miles attached to my new flight that I was going to take internationally. And so I called in. I got an AI system. I tried the chat. I got an AI system.
Hmm.
I tried the whole zero, tried to get an agent, tried, and none of it worked. So to your point on you can set it up wrong. If you don't have a human available to ultimately answer behind the AI when it goes wrong, you're going to turn your customer. And if you don't spend a very, very long and strong amount of time on making sure your AI is having good conversations, empathetic conversations, understanding where there's a problem, and then shifting it over to a human when it's not working out, you're going to lose customers. And so I finally I told my team, I'm not going to fly that airline anymore, even if it's the easiest, cheapest, fastest, doesn't matter, because I had such a terrible experience that I'm done with them. And I can't imagine how many customers they've lost as a result. And, frankly, it's one of the stocks that's dropping right now. And I think it's directly related to their increase in use of AI as a customer service replacement without having it ready yet.
It's such a great example of the importance of ensuring that the data is ready, that there is a human in the loop to seamlessly be passed to an agent when needed. But we've talked around a few of the negative things and what happens when it goes wrong. Can you walk me through what a successful blended human AI support model, what that looks like in practice, particularly in retail, let's say?
Yeah, so what we're finding the most value is from from a customer-facing chatbot in a web interface. So customers like to just chat, ask the question. Voice is not working out very well right now. Trying to convert the text to voice, and then sometimes you hear that clicking of a type keyboard in the background. Oh, I don't know. So chatbots seem to be working reasonably well, and you can ask the 5,000 questions that are in the knowledge base. You can get a very reasonable response back on those 5,000. It's going to cut the costs out for the customer, for the client, I should say. And then the end customer is going to get a response that's really rapid and really, really quick. And as long as you say, no, you don't have the answer to my question, I need to talk to a human, and it very quickly takes the information of that conversation, summarizes it up, and hands it off to a human. That's one of the really positive moves is having all that pre-work done. I've tried this, I've asked your knowledge base, it's answered all my questions. Now I'm transferring over, bringing you a small summary of here's the problem, here's what's been attempted. And so the advisor picks up, just says, give me 1 minute, let me just check up. Okay, I see what's going on, I'll take care of it. The other thing is, I think just thinking about the flow of a customer more, the workflow, we like to say, is it's a journey, not just a quick, hey, let me give you an AI response, but what happens when you need to transfer to a phone? How do I then take the information, the memory of that conversation, hand it off to an advisor who maybe calls you back, so you're not having to wait in queues and try to get frustrated while you're waiting. And so I think that it's very, very helpful if you put more into the digital space and avoid the voice space for the moment. But I do think voice is going to get there. It's just taking a little bit more time to get good at what it does. It's easier to do than text formats. We're all seeing a lot of benefit in translation, in real-time translation. So I think you're going to find more and more that the advisor you're chatting with doesn't speak your language, and you won't ever know that, because the advisor is just going to type in their language and it's going to come out looking like your language, exactly how you want to see it. So I think that chat process of very, very rapid real-time translation is also going to be helpful, because then a lot of languages don't have another country or place to service the language from. And so, German's a good example of that. You don't really have a low-cost German location where you can create a contact center and say, "Oh, handle all my German conversations." So that real-time translation is unique and different, and very, very supportive and helpful for reducing costs and also giving more people to be able to handle those conversations, all through AI rapid translation systems.
And I'm curious, how do you approach training AI systems to handle that nuanced customer service scenario that we all have experienced without losing brand tone, brand voice, or indeed empathy? Any secrets there, or any mistakes you might have seen, and how to avoid those?
I think the number one thing I see that people haven't even thought about when I walk in the door and have a conversation with a customer is the knowledge base is critical. And I'll tell you, having been in IT for 32 years, I have worked in technology companies. I've worked for end user companies. The knowledge base is the last thing a CIO is thinking about. Right, your chief information officer's got to have all the network up and running. They got to have their databases running. Got to have that running. They got to have this running. The knowledge base is designed for those customer service people to be able to answer the questions at the end of the day. And so it's oftentimes even set up, managed, and taken care of by a customer service team. And so there's really not the kind of deep inspection of that knowledge base. But yet, every question and answer pair that any AI is giving to your customer has to come from that. So a lot of what our job has been getting our teams in to start doing knowledge base cleanup. It's one of my best selling teams is going out and doing knowledge base cleanups all day long, because the reality is you can't truly get your AI to work effectively if the information that it's delivering is wrong. So I think that's probably the number one thing I would say is a problem. Is it's even lesser so about, I can't interface with maybe your airline ticket or something like where it's more a complex data feed. Just basic. I have a question, I can't get an answer. Do you feed vegetarian meals on a flight? And if the knowledge base doesn't have a answer to that, then I'm not going to get the answer from the knowledge base, which means, or if it's wrong, because maybe it was entered 5 years ago before you started offering vegetarian flights and nobody's updated that knowledge article, then the AI is going to give the wrong response. And so what we really see people getting wrong is plugging the system in, not having a knowledge base clean, or not even having it connected at all, trying to do everything in one big prompt. Imagine putting 5,000 answers into one single prompt. It's all going to be jumbled up, and it's going to give bad responses and errors and everything else. So you have to have a good, clean process for making sure your knowledge base is good. The second thing I found is on security. If you do it wrong, if you take your data feed and you load it into your language model, then the language model can see all of that. It's like the most powerful brain in the world being able to grab every single piece of information and share it. So a good example of that might be if you have, say, Salesforce or Zendesk or one of these CRM products, and you tell the AI it can access all of the data there. Well, then I could potentially ask a question about any customer, not just myself. So you have to think about credentialing. And so, Ryan's logging in. He wants to see his flight information. And so he asks a question. He should only be able to see records related to Ryan. If the AI has access to everything, though, you can have that error where now the security profile gives everything to me, even if I shouldn't be allowed to. So you have to set it up so that the AI can only access for that particular session the record that I'm pulling. And that may sound obvious, but you'd be surprised how many people get that wrong. And the first go around is they go ask it a question, they test it, and all this information comes out. And then there's fear, and I don't want to do this because I'm gonna lose it. And we had a lot of people just stop the tracks on AI because of that particular problem, as they couldn't get the security protocols right. And it's another thing we spend a lot of time with customers going through is just how are you going to set up this particular step of the workflow to make sure that when you're getting the right permissions, it's set up correctly. I've got great examples. I wrote an article for Forbes that went through some of that, and I had a customer. It gave away everything you don't want them to give away. I asked the question about, can you tell me all the salaries of the top 20 people in the company? It's like, yeah, here you go.
No.
Yeah, because it had all the data. It had access to all the data. The data repository underneath the scenes was AI could access all of it, and it didn't. It's like, I know what it is. I'll tell you the answer. Can you tell me your top 10 customers and their monthly revenues? I'm like, sure. Here you go. Here's the answer to that. So I think getting that security protocol right, making sure the knowledge is correct, those two things, absolutely critical. And then you just have to test. It takes a lot longer than people think to even set up a single bot to be accurate. And I think that's the missing piece. A lot of board members, a lot of CEOs, they think, this is just snap your fingers and you're going to save a lot of money or make more money or something with AI. And I don't think they realize it actually takes, to do it right, securely, and actually get the value from it, you kind of have to take a step back, slow down a little bit, and then do it.
And before you came on the podcast today, I was doing a little research, and one of the things that stood out to me straight away was that the IX Hello platform recently won Intelligent Personal Assistant of the Year. So, congratulations! But what was it that made it stand out from the crowd, especially in a crowded AI assistant market? What is it that makes you guys stand out?
Yeah, we're humbled by the AI Breakthrough Awards team giving us that. And it really comes down to a couple of key things. All the language model companies that are building tech have really designed them for commercial or non-commercial use. It's been for, you and I to jump on and ask a question, about how do I cook this, dish or something. And so we started looking at it really as what's the other components that are required from a security perspective, from an integration with your data elements, and making it so that you can start asking good questions of your platform. And so we just by having those APIs that can interface, for example, with Salesforce, or APIs that access Amazon data or Azure data or GCP data and so forth, it made it so we could make it more accessible and more valuable. And so, to give you an idea, one of the companies out there that does AI bots like this, we heard the other day that they had 40 different agents that were working inside of their company. 40.
Yeah.
And that sounds good. You've basically replaced 40 different processes with AI. Just our own company, we have 7,000.
Whoa.
Our teams every single day look at a process to figure out how do we make that faster, easier, better with AI? How do we simplify it? How do we connect different processes together to make it so you can take something from end to end and make it faster? Probably my best example, I think, is we've seen a lot of customers do this, is legal. I mean, if they do a contract review, they could be 10 pages, 100 pages, 500 pages. There's always something that lawyers don't want to put in there. They want to make sure they can redline. How do you reread a 500-page document that's gone back and forth between companies and do it really rapidly and look for those things? So you just say, well, let me prompt. I want to know if there's unlimited liability in the contract, or I want to know if there's a cancellation clause. I want to know this, I want to know that. You just put them in there and say, go look through this whole document and let me know if you find those things. And then, we might find 2 days, 3 days later, oh, we didn't ask this question. We really want to ask too. And you just go and update the agent and say, save it. Now every single document goes through the flow and comes out the other side. And instead of a senior, very expensive lawyer spending all this time reading through a 100-page document, they spend 3 or 4 seconds pushing it through the tech and coming back on the other side saying, all right, here's the 3 or 4 things I need to redline. They can get back a response in 20, 30 minutes to the company they're dealing with. And it's shocking to the other side when they say, how did you respond so rapidly? So incredible things you can do by getting advisor agents set up. And IXLO has created that ability for us to do so many things that I think when we finally went through all of it, we're multi models, so you can use you could use OpenAI, you can use Microsoft Azure, you can use GCP, you can use Claude, you can use any of the different models out there, including if you wanted your own custom language model. A lot of people are doing that now, especially with Meta's Llama product. And so we set those up for customers, and we're very, very flexible in what can be accomplished, but in an enterprise, highly secured model system, and people love it, and we got some awards from it. I thought it was fantastic that they recognized us.
And of course, the elephant in the room is that increasing concern around automation and AI leading to job displacement. I would argue that many of the companies that are doing just that, they're the ones providing the very poor experiences, like the one you mentioned with the airline there, and you've stopped using them. So I think it will come full circle eventually. But how are you at Concentrix? How are you using AI to augment rather than replace human talent? Because that's where the magic happens, right?
It is. We think of it as it's the first step, and we obviously know that there's going to be plenty of places where it's going to replace a human's existing role.
Yeah,
and so we know that that's going to happen. So I'll take that and put it off to the side for a second. Today, it's about taking. We call our software for Inside. We call it Hero. So IX Heroes, our latest release, and we've put it into our advisors to make them heroes, because we think of them as ordinary people who are smart and talented and can have good conversations with customers, and they solve many problems. But if you can supercharge them with AI capabilities, how much faster, how much more effective can they be? And we really increase their own personal stature. There's less yelling. Because as you're probably aware, you can have some really bad interactions almost every day. Someone's getting yelled at for something that has nothing to do with them, but they get yelled at a lot. And so we figure out how we can make that a better conversation. It reduces the stress of our team members by having all that information just right in front of them and very quickly. That said, now let's take the thing I put off to the side for a second. So are we going to replace humans? It's going to happen. It's going to happen in our business. It's going to happen in every business, and we understand that that's an inevitability. And so we've really been thinking about is what happens next with those humans. So maybe you go create a prompt that says I want this tool to do something for you, and then that tool has to go into production and start working. But businesses are constantly changing. They're constantly evolving. The questions that are being asked today are going to be different than the questions being asked tomorrow, because a business might, for example, launch a new product. You would expect that probably be the case for most companies out there, is at some point they're going to launch something new and do something different. And so all of those bots that you've created, they have to be managed, maintained, updated, taken care of, observed to make sure they're accurate and doing the job they were supposed to do. There's not this drift between the products. So what we've launched is a capability, we call it agentic engineering, which is all about managing, maintaining, and operating those agents for the long period of time, forever. So we expect that advisors will start to shift from maybe some of them aren't needed anymore to do that kind of basic automation. But those people are going to be shifted into roles where they're maintaining the bot that's doing that automation instead. And it reminds me of there was an era where the number one job in the world was an accountant. It was the most prolific job, and then the computer came out, and it was the accountants went, "Oh no, computers are going to change everything." And certainly there's a lot less accountants now, because they can now crunch the P&L in a piece of software in a few minutes, as opposed to needing to sit there for hours and hours and hours and look at every single ledger on a piece of paper. But it didn't suddenly mean that there's no longer a need for people. Just a lot of those people that would have taken accounting jobs went into the computer industry and started building software for accounting, or software for networks, or software for everything else. And so I suspect you're going to have the same with agentics and agentic technology. As we start to replace different kinds of roles, different kinds of jobs, it's just going to shift to a different kind of job. And so I'm not super worried about it at the moment. I think it's something we're constantly thinking about, making sure that the people that are employed by us have a future place. And so we're always thinking about that. But I'm not worried about having something for them to do that's going to be potentially even better than what they do now today.
And in an inflationary economy where consumers are much more value conscious than ever before, how can AI-powered support contribute to that long-term brand loyalty, especially in a world where bad experiences, like a few we've mentioned today, they just increase churn rate, don't they? So any advice around that on how AI-powered support can actually increase brand loyalty?
Yeah, I think what it comes down to it is you've got to have systems that are actually helpful. So it really comes down to measuring the satisfaction of your agentic technology. And like I said, I think you should focus on your long tail when you're building a capability out. So if you don't have a good loyalty program that takes your high value long-term customers and making sure that they have a different experience that's really powerful and special, because you're going to have to do that while you roll out AI. You can't just put AI cookie cutter peanut butter spread against everybody and say, let's hope that it works. And so you take AI and you start with a small group. You tune it to make it so that the CSAT levels are going up. If your customer satisfaction is higher than you had before, then you're making good progress. And you constantly just have to keep testing that, because you can roll something out that seems like a better experience, but then your competitor might roll something out that has a little bit better of an experience. And then it ends up happening is the customer says, well, I don't have as good of experience as I had over here, so I'm going to switch, and you still have a churn. But if you constantly are kind of pushing that level up of a better, more personal experience, and I think, by the way, where we're going with that is hyper-personalization. So I think that's the future. It's something that really nobody has cracked fundamentally. But Neil, if you make a call into your bank and you've had 10 conversations about the same things for the last 10 calls, why aren't we remembering that conversation? Why aren't we taking that thread of conversations and picking up where we left off and said, hey, are we still dealing with that issue?
Yeah.
Why can't I just continue on? So that kind of concept of memory of all the conversations you've had, the transcription of the discussion goes into a bucket around Neil. Now, Neil, you might also have a thing that says, I hate being put on hold. I don't know if you and I share that.
Yes.
So when they say, let me put you on hold, I'm like, oh, this is going to be 10 minutes or 30 minutes. I don't know. But it could be forever. And I don't have that kind of time. If you could just tell me that you're going to be 30 minutes, then I can hang up and we'll do this later. And so that might really frustrate you. And I can hear that in your tone.
Yeah.
So if I put you on hold and it's 10 minutes and I come back and you're upset and you're more upset than you were when you called, I should be able to notate that. I should be able to say, hey, let's not put Neil on hold anymore. Yeah. Let's change the way we interact with Neil because this doesn't work for him. And so I think that hyper-personalization attached to AI is the future. I think that's where you say, okay, I know all the conversations we've had. It's like you're talking to the same person every single time. Even if you're talking to a human and it's AI assisted humans, should have the same thing. It feels like I just got off the phone with you because you just picked up where the last person left off. There should be that feeling of all connectiveness. And so our next platform we're launching is all around this idea of hyper-personalization. I think we've got the nut cracked. Now we're going to put it to actual use and see if it really changes the conversation with customers. Let's start doing more hyper-personalization with AI and with AI-assisted and augmented humans.
And as our expectations continue to evolve and generative AI becomes even more mainstream, we'll see more and more customers moving away from websites and traditional online searches on Google, for example, and maybe towards more AI agents to get those answers quickly. What role do you see human agents playing in the next 3 to 5 years and keeping that human in the loop?
So I'm probably unique in this. I constantly am watching videos of people talking about how it's all going to be within 6 months and a year or a year and a half, or AGI is now out, and so it's going to change everything. And I've been around technology long enough that every single time somebody tells me it's going to be a year, I assume tack on 2 more years. So I think human agents are going to be critical for, and at the scale we are now, maybe even growing human agents for probably the next 2 to 3 years. I think in that 3 to 5 year, you'll start seeing some calming of that. It might flatten out. You might see more AI assisting more things. But then even then, it's a guess, because I'll take you back a little bit. When the website came out, so University of Stanford, right? Stanford University and CERN, about the same week, I think they're working together, said, here's our 2 first websites, and they put websites up on the internet. And the moment they did, you can go back and look at all the articles. They said, the customer service industry is dead, because now everyone's going to get their questions answered through websites. I could tell you right now, we have a heck of a lot more people answering more calls today than we did before we had websites.
Yeah.
And so I think there's one of the people on my team, his name is James. James is always telling me, hey, I don't think it ever is going to slow down. This is his perspective, and I like his perspective. It's interesting. I don't think it'll ever slow down. I think the headcount will keep on growing. It will keep on having a need for people. And I said, why do you think that? He says, because the desire for help is insatiable. That's his term. And it's true. Think about, as we've gotten more technology and we can get answers faster, how frustrated you get when your internet goes off for 20 minutes.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. And so wait, it used to be you'd have to call and wait, and you'd pick up the payphone and finally look through the yellow pages. I'm dating myself now, but you'd find the number, and it'd be sitting on a hold forever, or you'd call someone. They said, let me transfer you to the right aid, and then they'd be going around. And now it's like, if I can't get the answer on my phone in 12 seconds, I'm frustrated. So I think there's some reality to James's feedback that there's very possibly, as you get more and more AI, it's going to get rid of all of the simpler conversations, and the desire for the complicated conversation that's harder and harder and harder to use AI to solve are going to increase, and you're still going to need customer service to support that customer. You're going to churn them. And so I don't know that humans go away anytime soon. I think that it's a matter of what blend are you going to have? Is it going to be a smaller number of VIP agents that are handling the complex, or your specialty agents that handle the unique circumstances? You're going to have more of that. Will we see the same quantity of people after AI, kind of what we saw with websites? It's hard to know. I'm not a crystal ball kind of person, so I make the assumption that everyone's wrong, and we'll find out in a few years, and that maybe somebody was right, and we'll find out in a few years.
Love it. Oh, brilliant. I think that's a perfect moment to end on. So thank you for sharing your insights with everyone today. Before I let you go, I'm going to ask you to leave one final gift for everyone listening, and that is a song or piece of music for our Spotify playlist. I always ask my guests to leave something that means something to them. So what would you like to add to that list, and why?
Oh, great question. Recently on my Spotify, I've been listening a lot to Hans Zimmer. I'm a big fan of the music he's created for the movies, and I think maybe because you watch the movie, there's this emotional attachment you get to some of the songs, and so I recently went and watched one of his shows in Atlanta. It was really quite a neat thing to experience, and so the song that he ended on, and I was actually worried that he wasn't going to play it, but it was the very last song, is a song called "Time." And it's just it's actually kind of slow, not too crazy, but I can just sit and relax to it and get some work done. And so I like that it doesn't have words, because words kind of get me when I'm trying to work in multiple screens and get too much stuff done, and the words get in the way. So I really like what Hans Zimmer does, and he's got such a unique sound that he creates seemingly for every single score of a movie he does. That's what's on my Spotify today.
Oh, I love it. That's a beautiful piece of music too. I will get that added to our Spotify playlist. You're going to have me. I think you've sent me down a Hans Zimmer rabbit hole as well, because I think once you go down there, there's just so much good stuff. But for anyone listening that wants to find out more information about anything we talked about today, including the fact that IXLO platform won that Intelligent Personal Assistant of the Year, where would you like to point everyone?
I would love them to go to Concentrix.com. So it's CONCENTRIX.com, and would love to have you take a look, and you'll find all sorts of information about our products. And of course, if you reach out on there, our teams can help get you engaged in anything we do, and if we can help you, we'll help you. If we can't help you, we'll tell you where you should go get help. We're all about trying to make sure we can increase the customer experience profile of all the biggest brands in the world, and really make a better experience for humans. So we look forward to helping if we can, and thank you again, Neil, for having me on this show. It was a great discussion.
Thank you for taking the time to sit down and share your story. We talked a lot around technology and AI and how it's improving experiences. But aside from the technology, I think the big takeaway for me is that different mindset required to see that shift from customer service as another cost center to a revenue driver. That's the big takeaway for me, and leveraging technology to do just that. But more than anything, thank you for bringing it all to life today. Really appreciate your time.
Thanks, Neil, and thanks for everyone's listening.
I think if there's one lesson that struck me from today's conversation, it's that AI won't magically fix broken customer service. But when it's built with care, when it's tested thoroughly, and when it's paired with people, not pitched against them, that's the moment it can absolutely shift the dial from reactive support or frustrating support to proactive value creation. And I think Ryan showed us today what that looks like at scale. From those stats of doubling upsell revenue with advisor assist tools to cleaning up thousands of knowledge-based articles so AI doesn't give you the wrong answers with confidence. And his team is doing real work behind the scenes on that, not gimmicks. It's about long-term trust. And let's not forget, there's a deeper shift here. Roles like agentic engineers, they're emerging, not disappearing. So the industry isn't just cutting costs, it's evolving. And so are the humans within it. So the next time you scream, "Agent, I want to speak to an agent," into a phone menu, remember the experiences won't come from removing people. They always come from making both AI and humans better by working together. So thanks again to Ryan for a thoughtful and wide-ranging chat today. But over to you. If you've got anything to say, please connect with me on LinkedIn, X, Instagram, etc. Just at Neil C. Hughes. So let me know your thoughts on Ryan today and everything we covered. And I'm going to go listen to that Hans Zimmer track now. He's awoken my curiosity. So I'll be checking that out, and I will return again very soon with another guest. Bye for now.